celebrating. Good afternoon, everyone. The Senate Special Committee on Congressional Redistricting will come to order. Oh, congratulations. We have a new grandbaby up here, so. The clerk will please call the roll.
Senator King,
Here.
Senator Creighton, Senator Alvarado, Senator Hinojosa, Senator Hughes, Senator Miles, Senator Parker, Senator Paxton, Senator Sparks.
Here.
That is 3.
There being 3 present, that does not equate to a quorum for us. A quorum will be established as the meeting progresses. No votes or actions will be taken in the absence of a quorum. We've gotten messages from several members. Traffic is apparently really a mess coming in. I guess everybody's starting back to college and everything else. The roads are full today. So we will go ahead and start taking testimony in just a bit, though. The purpose of today's hearing is to lay out a bill and to hear public testimony on that bill. If you intend to provide verbal testimony or would like to register a position on the bill, please register at one of the kiosks located behind the committee hearing room. All testimony will be limited to 2 minutes, so we can try to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Registration will be closed, registering to testify at 5 p.m. And members, just so you know, registration was open today at 3 p.m. And please show Senator Hinojosa present. And Senator Miles. And Senator Hughes. We have a flood of senators incoming, so.
That'll also give us a quorum.
And that gives us a quorum. That's great. Thank you. To ensure that everyone will be heard in a timely manner, we will ask 4 witnesses to be seated at the witness table at a time. So if you haven't testified here before or aren't familiar with how we do it, I'll call 4 names out, or who'll be filling in for the chair will call 4 names out. And just all come up and have a seat at the panel. Then we'll go through all 4. And then after all 4 have testified, then we'll give the senators an opportunity to ask any questions that they might want to ask. And then we'll bring up the next 4. Any member of the public may also submit written comments and attachments to the committee via the public input portal. Everyone, as of today, we've had over 5,700 submissions to the portal and have approximately 2,600 submissions processed and posted. We're trying to do several hundred a day. Because those come in with personal information on whoever submitted them, their name, their address, things like that. We don't want to make that available to the public at large. And so we're trying to go through and just redact the submittee's personal information so we don't cause anybody any troubles. It's just taking the staff some time to go through that. But we've got about 2,600 of them processed, and I think they were averaging about 400 a day and getting them done. So we'll keep moving forward. We do have a few overflow rooms, which I don't think we're going to need today, but it's E1016 and E1028. Audio should be playing in those 2, not 3, but 2 overflow rooms, so you can hear if you're being called to testify. And if necessary, of course, we can take a 5 to 10 minute break every few hours so members in the public can all stretch our legs a bit. Members, if you don't mind, just to kind of help us get through this today, I thought, and just for the benefit of the public, I thought I'd ask if you have any questions or comments regarding SB4, that we might save those to the end of the hearing, if that's okay, so we can get right into public testimony. I'm also going to try to do something a little bit different today. We'll see how it works. But we're going to try to first call, because a lot of you have graciously testified in previous hearings on this same map, either here or in the House. And so what we're going to try to do is call up those who have not yet testified before this Senate committee. We'll call you up first and let you testify. And then once we get through that group, and I think it's about half and half, then we'll go on to those who've testified previously. before the committee, if that's all right. Also, there are no committee amendments that have been submitted on SB 4 this time. And so with that, I'll just pass the gavel literally to Senator Hinojosa first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to be recognized for a motion, if I may.
Certainly. Go ahead.
I move that the Senate Special Congressional Redistricting Committee adopt the complete record of all witnesses, written testimony submitted, and discussions among the members during the 89th Legislature First Call Special Session. Adopting this motion will ensure that all voices heard and evidence presented to the committee during the previous special session will be recognized and included as part of the official record of the 89th Legislature Second Call Special Session. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would move adoption.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
Thank you. I think we've got enough people here to vote on that. So the motion is to, ladies and gentlemen, what he wants to do is, since we had such a long hearing, an extensive hearing, what date was that?
What date?
7th.
What day? It was a week ago Thursday, is that right?
The 7th.
The 7th. On the 7th, we had a hearing, and a very long hearing, and very good hearing. And then we've also had, I guess altogether, we've had 6 hearings during the previous session with the virtual hearings and then 2 others. So one for invited testimony and one for public testimony. And the public testimony we had, all of those were actually very long and very good hearings, except for one that was a little bit short, the invited testimony. But so the motion basically is to take everything that was presented by any witness, any comments of any of the senators, anything that was laid out, all the evidence that came forth, that all that, in effect, be rolled over into this session so that it's part of the record. And that way, if anybody needs to use it at any time in the future for any purpose, it's part of this second special session. And so we have a second from Senator Miles on that. Members, is there any objection or discussion? Hearing none on. Okay, I'm told I need to call that adopted for this special session, not rolled over. So the motion has been made by Senator Hinojosa. There is no objection, but let's go ahead and do a formal vote once you call the roll.
Yes, sir. Senator Alvarado, Senator Hinojosa,
Aye.
Senator Hughes,
Yes.
Senator Miles,
Aye.
Senator Parker, Senator Paxton, Senator Sparks,
Aye.
Senator Creighton, Senator King.
Aye. Being 5 ayes, 6 ayes, the motion is passed and adopted. Thank you for thinking of that. Now I'll pass the gavel.
Okay, Chair lays out Senate Bill 4 and recognizes its author, Senator King, to lay out the bill.
All right, I had originally offered this bill in the previous special session, also as Senate Bill 4 on Monday, August the 4th. As I mentioned, we had a hearing later that week in which we laid out the bill and had a lot of extensive testimony specifically on the map. That was then map C2308, C2308. That is the same map that is offered within this new bill in this second special session. That said, I'm not going to do a long layout again if no one objects. You can certainly go back and watch the previous hearing or the presentation on the floor last week where the bill is laid out with a lot of detail and the map is discussed with a lot of detail. I do that because, one, it would just be repetitious. 2, we've just now adopted all of the testimony given and statements given in all of those hearings, and also it's the same map, and most of you have been a part of this since it began. I will say this, that map 2308, C2308, meets the 3 objectives that I have had for going forward with a map. The first one, and most important, is that it be legal, and this map is legal with regard to all applicable law. The second is that it would perform better for Republicans, and this map does perform better, by my judgment, for Republicans. And third, which had not been an original objective, but became one because of all the testimony we heard. We heard a lot of testimony that the current map had a number of districts that were not compact, were not close together, were not tight in their design. And this map, listening to that testimony, we applied it, and this map also is much more compact than the current congressional redistricting map. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions or proceed with witnesses, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, are there any questions for Senator King? He had talked about potentially having you guys reserve your questions for the end so that we can get on with public testimony, but we good? Okay, with that, Chair now opens up public testimony. Public testimony will be on Senate Bill 4. As a reminder, testimony will be limited strict to 2 minutes. So the chair calls the following witnesses, and if you would, as your name's called, if you'd come up and take your seat here at the front, and once we get everybody seated for the panel, we'll start testimony. So the chair calls Lori Mitchell, Simone Brown, Stephanie Swanson, and Rye Vasquez. Very good. And I think we'll start on the right here. If you would, please state your name for the record and your position on the bill.
Okay. Do I have to push anything? No. My name is Lori Mitchell. I am very much against SB4. I am against SB4, the midterm redistricting bill. Texas is already gerrymandered in a very racist way. Currently, 37.7% of registered voters, Republicans, rule over the remaining 62% of registered voters in our state. This results form an incredibly racist voting map. And here's the breakdown specifically. It takes 430,000 white voters to get one representative with this map. It takes 1.2 million Latino voters to get a representative with this map. It takes 2 million Black voters to get one representative with this map. To put it another way that's easy to understand, one Latina vote in the state of Texas is worth 1/3 of a white vote. One Black vote in the state of Texas is worth 1/5 of a white vote. This is worse than the 3/5 compromise of 1787. And that the Republican leaders of the state of Texas feel beholden to an adjudicated rapist and 37-count convicted felon is loathsome. The Republican legislature is throwing Texas citizens into the wolf that they are too scared to fight themselves. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. And for the record, are you speaking on behalf of yourself or a particular organization?
Just myself.
All right, thank you very much. Next.
Hi, I'm Rye Vasquez. I just came from work to be here. I am opposed to this bill. I spoke a lot more candidly what was that? 2 days ago when we had to cram all the Senate bills into one. And I intend to do the same today because 1, I didn't have enough time to write anything, but 2, I think this is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous how you guys have pulled this second session immediately after the other. And I've heard a lot about the legality of this. The legality, it goes against, or it's so in line with all the laws. How many laws are there against redistricting? I'll give you a hint, there's none in terms of redistricting at the end of every decade, as is tradition with the census. There is no law against that, I'll give you that. I think that we're not asleep. We're not asleep. We saw the President of the United States get up and say, you know what, I want 5 seats in Texas. And here we are. You know what, I want a few thousand votes in Georgia. Oh wait, he was not able to do that because that was illegal. And you had people standing up and saying that they weren't going to bow down to the whims of a madman. When it comes to the legality, there is so many things in our history that is justified by legality. The horrors of the Holocaust and almost every single genocide that has happened on the face of this planet was justified somehow by legality. The slave trade that built this capital, maybe not this annex, but this capital and the state of Texas was legal. And you know what we did? We turned around and said, hey, that actually isn't cool from a moral standpoint. And other things that just irk me when it comes to these kind of bills. Do not pass this map.
Thank you. And excuse me, just for the record, are you representing yourself or
Representing myself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you would, state your name, your position on the bill, and whether you're representing yourself or an organization. You may go.
My name is Simone Brown. I am opposed to SB4. I'm just representing myself today. Today we're all here to talk about redistricting maps 5 years before they're due, and the community of Sandy Creek is still rattled as a school bus has rolled over on winding roads following rainy days last week. The community members are traumatized from flooding and having to use a low water crossing to get around as they wait for repairs to be made to the bridge that was washed away the 4th of July weekend. The poor condition of those winding roads and the delayed bridge repairs are promises made and promises broken by this Texas governing body. These issues touch far and wide across our state, and not just these issues, with little to no congressional action, and you have the audacity to ask for more power with these maps. Greg Abbott has committed to calling special session after special session until these maps get passed, and the per diem costs alone for those sessions cost roughly $40,000 per day. And I'll leave you to do the math about how much money Abbott is willing to spend pushing voter registration maps written by a man in Virginia. That sure sounds like messing with Texas to me, and I've been told since I was about knee-high that that's something you just don't do. My mother has always told me racism was expensive, and I'm witnessing that in real time, unfortunately. Texas has the largest Black population of voters and the second largest population of Latino voters, only second to California in this country. And these maps split those communities in half and leave them with less socioeconomic power and significantly less electoral power. It puts conservative voters of color like my dad and progressive voters of color like me at severe disadvantages to be heard and represented with equity, and that is a right granted to us simply by way of being a U.S. citizen. The author of the bill stated in a testimony on August 7th that he doesn't see race in these maps. I would like to remind the committee that seeing your constituents is your job. It is how you fulfill their needs. It is how you identify their vulnerabilities. And if you don't see color, if you don't see your constituents for who they are, you are not doing your jobs. It is your job to do your jobs.
Thank you. Ms. Swanson?
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Stephanie Swanson, and I will be providing testimony on behalf of myself and also on behalf of the Fair Maps Texas Coalition. Okay, just last week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals again upheld the constitutionality of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in Narney v. Landry. Sorry if I slaughtered that. The plaintiffs in that case alleged that the state of Louisiana packed and cracked Black communities in the state's legislative maps in ways that unlawfully diluted their power to elect their preferred candidates of choice under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. In that case, the state of Louisiana was making similar arguments to what lawmakers in the state of Texas are currently claiming, that race-conscious remedies were unnecessary in their redistricting plans. The court flatly rejected that claim. The court noted that this court, sitting en banc, and every other circuit court to consider this issue has upheld the constitutionality of Section 2's results test. We decline to depart from the settled and uniform precedent. Here, lawmakers are making similar claims that they drew the maps race blind. This method is clearly not in line with neither Allen v. Milligan nor Narney v. Landry, those decisions. Racial and ethnic demographics are necessary to determine whether majority, minority, or opportunity districts should be drawn under the VRA. Furthermore, it is clear from even a cursory glance at the new districts that race was taken into account, as many districts seem to correspond with high percentages of voters of color. Thus, the state's claim of drawing districts race blind is plainly misleading or untrue. By failing to be transparent about the use of racial data, questions arise about how the data was used and for what reason. The Fair Maps Texas Coalition also has genuine concerns about the constitutionality of the map proposal. We believe that the state is targeting districts that are protected under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Congressional districts 29 and 35 are both majority-minority districts. And I've stated the CVAPs of all of these districts for your records in the testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for this panel? Thank you all very much. Okay, if I could get Erin Madison, Rebecca McElwain, Cameron Edrich, and Marion Kim, please. Please step forward and take a seat. Veronikah. All right, very well, thank you. Yeah, if you would, state your name for the record, your position on the bill, and whether you represent yourself or another organization.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca McElwain. I'm testifying on behalf of myself and Texas Impact against SB 4. Every faith tradition represented in Texas Impact affirmed deep commitment to racial justice. This means not only working to eliminate racism within our faith communities, but resisting racism in the public square. This means advocating for election systems that prioritize leadership opportunities for people from communities that are disproportionately impacted by the ongoing legacy of racial injustice. Yet we see that the new congressional districts, as drawn in SB 4, advance racially discriminatory districts that would undermine and thwart the racial justice commitments of our faith traditions. The proposed map goes beyond simply seeking additional Republican seats. It appears calibrated to deny many Texans of color access to representation of their choosing. We've listened to hours and hours of public testimony on this redistricting process and have heard overwhelming cries that the process has not been fair and would harm people. As Texans of faith and conscience, we believe every individual is an infinitely valuable child of God, and we affirm the imperative to love our neighbors as ourselves. You have the power to manifest that love in politics that protect the power of every person's vote. We cannot claim to love our neighbors if we deny their constitutional right to participate equally in the formation of our shared government. As a society, we must guard against every social, political, and legal effort that seeks to deny anyone the right of self-determination. We are all equal before God. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Madison. I'm here to testify on behalf of myself, and I oppose SB 4. A Republican staffer recently told me that when they heard rumors that there would be an attempt to redistrict during the special session, they thought surely it wasn't true. It made no sense, and they knew it could backfire on Republicans. So even your fellow Republicans know this is a bad idea, and yet you keep trying to push it through. A quote I'm sure you're familiar with from the Declaration of Independence states, "Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Just like President Trump has proudly talked about grabbing women without their consent, just like his old friend Epstein grabbed girls without their consent, you're trying to grab our democracy without our consent. And I'm here to say you do not have my consent. I imagine you all ran for office in order to make decisions you felt were good for Texas and good for the country. Why have you given away your power to Trump? Why let the White House tell you what to do? You don't have to do this. Trump makes excuses for his failures all the time. You can do the same here if you give up on redistricting. Just make an excuse. Say you ran out of time after you worked on flood relief, or tell him you realize the chance to keep control of the House is better if you leave things as they are, which in fact may be true. I can't predict what will happen if you pass this, but I'm sure none of it will be good for America. At best, voters will have less say in who runs the country. At worst, there could be a revolution, and this is not a threat. It's something we know from history. John F. Kennedy said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." I'm asking you to reconsider, do the right thing for Texas and for this country, and stop this redistricting scheme right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. You may begin.
My name is Cameron Edrich, and I am opposed to SB4. I am representing myself. I am a 16-year-old high schooler, and I came out today because I believe the new district maps are harmful despite apparent legality due to the racial gerrymandering that will occur, redrawing the map to only 8 Democratic seats and 30 Republican ones. Y'all are trying to secure Republican House seats because the tables are turning. The fact is, in the last election, only 56% of Texas was red. Y'all are intimidated by us, intimidated by the power of Texans, intimidated by youth like me, willing to stand up for what's right, intimidated by powerful women like Jasmine Crockett, who would be drawn out of her district, intimidated by the Democrats currently breaking quorum to stand with Texans. But the thing is, these special sessions can't be held forever, despite what Governor Abbott might say, especially when you cannot raise funding during it, and sly tactics like rushing the redistricting during this session with little public input will not stop us from making our voices heard. Redrawing the maps in this way is incredibly dangerous to the Hispanic and Black communities that are being silenced. This is not normal to rush the redistricting, and only 4 years since the last one. I urge you to vote with Texans for Texans, the community that is making it clear what we need. I am against SB4. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You may begin.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Marion Kim. I'm a junior in high school here to testify against Senate Bill 4. I wasn't originally going to come today because I didn't know this was happening, but once I was aware, I knew how important it would be for me to show up. Texas already has 25 Republican seats and only 13 Democratic seats. Adding 5 more Republican seats is a gross misuse of power. That's 79% of the seats, even though Trump only got 56% of Texan votes, leaving the Republican Party with 30 seats and the Democrats with only 8. Gerrymandering as a whole is unfair to all voters. No one gets what they want, and you allow this injustice, undermining any, if not all, trust these people have in the government, especially in communities of color. Redistricting only aims to silence the youth, communities of color, and anyone that doesn't fit a specific partisan agenda. This threatens any chance of a fair election. Redistricting has been long used as an attempt to erase democratic representation, splitting diverse communities to weaken voting power. This whole redistricting is a clear attempt at avoiding a traditional midterm vote and holding on to the House, which is narrowly controlled by the GOP. That's all I have today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And for the record, are you testifying on behalf of yourself or?
Yeah, I'm by myself.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, Senator Miles.
Thank you. Let me first apologize to the first panel. I'm from Chicago, straight here to Austin, so I was a little tired. Thank you for your testimony earlier, and thank you all for your testimony right now. Thank you.
Members, any other questions for this panel? You guys may be excused. Thank you. Yeah? Okay. There's coffee in call Alice Yee, Ashley Morgan, Christina DeStefano, and Tammy Conrad. Please step forward, take a seat. And again, when you begin your testimony, if you would state your name clearly, your position on the bill, and if you represent yourself or another organization. Let's see, who are we missing? Ashley Morgan? Ashley Morgan? Okay. Okay. Chair calls Nilafar Hafizi. I probably butchered that. I butchered it so much you almost couldn't tell that was you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, if you would, we'll start on the right.
Hi, I'm Tammy Conrad. I'm speaking on behalf of self, and I'm against this bill. I'm a native Texan and a teacher, so I'm particularly proud of the two students who just spoke. I thought that was really cool. I'm also a TSTA and a Texas AFT member, as well as the president of my local union. Sundays are special to me as I prepare for my upcoming week with my students. But when I heard there would be a second special session and there was a hearing today, I had to be here. At first, I thought it must be a hearing about flood relief because, of course, we want to make sure that those people, you know, over 130 people who died and the people who lost their homes and businesses, we would, of course, want to address those issues. Surely their hearing would be about that. No one would want to talk about redistricting, not after the census has already happened, but, you know, not in the middle of two censuses. It doesn't make sense. Why don't we take care of what Texans really need right now? Instead, you've spent the summer doing the bidding of an authoritarian president who's looking for more votes, just like Texan summers. That's not cool. And I saw the information that was presented by the first speaker earlier about one representative for every 445,000 white voters, one representative for every 1.4 million Hispanic voters, and one representative for every 2 million Black voters. I'm a math teacher, and my elementary students can tell you that those numbers aren't right. It's racist voter disenfranchisement at its worst, and it seems to me like it's taxation without representation. I urge you to vote no on this redistricting map and the concept of redistricting right now. Texans need other things like support from the flooding and help from future potential weather issues. They don't need this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. You may begin. Appreciate that.
My name's Alice Yee. I'm here representing myself and Asian Texans for Justice, C4, Asian Texan for Justice Action Fund, a C4 organization statewide. We're here and condemn and against SB4. This bill is not just an attack on fairness. It is attack on democracy itself. This map is nothing more than a deliberate attack on Asian American and Pacific Islander communities and the people of color across Texas. It slices our community in parts and dilute our voice, strip us of power, and erase our growing influence. Take a Northwest Austin, for example, homes of one of the largest concentration of AAPI residents in Austin. Instead of recognize our community, this bill hacks our apart into 5 separate districts, CD 10, 11, 17, 31, 37. With more than 2 million AAPI residents, we're the fastest growing racial group in Texas. Together, communities of color makes up 60% of this state population. Yet, SB 4 ignores our growth, dismisses our voice, and spit on the face of democracy by refusing or using updated census data. We all know this, a naked power grip. SB 4 is not about a fair representation. It is about a White House desperate of power like dictators, tearing down democracy and slicing millions of Texans. Our community deserves to be heard. We demand maps that reflect the reality, maps rooted in census data and our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, committee members. My name is Nilfar Hafizi, and I'm here on behalf of myself and Engage Action, a 501c4 dedicated to empowering and advocating for Muslim Americans across Texas. This is the earliest I've ever been called to testify, so it's great to see everyone here again. All the things I've said before about the maps are still true. They are still racially discriminatory. We all know that in Texas, the majority of Texans are people of color, and the majority of the growth Texas experienced was from communities of color. Instead, the representatives we have in Congress are the reverse. They are a majority white delegation. And this map, instead of taking majority white districts and taking them and turning them into minority districts, it does the opposite of that. It dismantles majority minority districts and is going to lead to voter confusion in districts such as Texas 18, where right now there is a special election that's going to be happening this November. Many of those voters who are preparing to vote right now will be in a different district by the time the primaries come around in March. And as someone who works in voter mobilization and education, that is not right. This is not the time to be pursuing this kind of map. Much has been made of how it's legal to do this. It is also legal to not redistrict. Most states choose to not redistrict in the middle of the decade. They wait until the next census, a census that, by the way, is going to lead to better representation for some of our state's minorities because it'll be the first to have a Middle Eastern, North African racial category. Instead, what this map is doing is leading a war across America as other states decide to redistrict and claw back an advantage for their own parties. Instead of taking this route, what we can do is take a step back, say no, and think about other solutions like independent redistricting commissions. Instead, because of Texas's actions, states like California and New York that have independent redistricting commissions are now stepping forward to claw back those commissions and make redistricting a partisan play again. This will negatively impact voters of color across the nation, but Texas has the power to say no to this. This process right now is going to just lead to more voter confusion and more public outrage. So I ask you all to vote no on SB 4.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please begin.
Hi, my name is Christina DeStefano, and I'm here representing myself. I am opposed to SB 4. What we are seeing right now play out in this room can only be described as a blatant power grab. Several weeks ago, Trump and Abbott had a discussion likely not intended for the public. I need you to find 5 seats, Trump said to Abbott, and with his magic wand, Abbott jumped fast-tracking redistricting bills, fast-tracking this bill outside of its standard 10-year cadence and jumping in line in front of flood relief bills for a second consecutive special session. They went on to take a scalpel and create incision through districts belonging to outspoken progressive leaders, leading Kazar and Doggett to fend each other. Joaquin Castro and Jasmine Crockett do not reside in the new districts that they had worked so hard for. West Travis County wraps around so far east that I cannot fathom what they have in common with San Jacinto and Leon County, except ultimately to diminish Black and Latino votes. Why are we here and not talking about flood relief? There are so many displaced Texans without aid. Why are we Texans the ones rolling up our sleeves? Do you understand how heartbreaking it is to be out in Sandy Creek, sorting through debris and putting it into piles as either scrap metal, wood, brush, or a pile titled Sad. A pile too gut-wrenching to deal with at that particular moment. To find mud-caked clothing belonging to a little boy about 5 where his room once stood, then come back to Austin and talk about party lines. You steal time away from people who have none to give. There's only a 30 to 40-minute drive, heck, close enough to take public transportation, between conversations happening in this room about district lines and conversations with ladies who have lost their loved ones in Sandy Creek.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you to each one of you for your valuable testimony for the committee. Senator King, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to mention this because a couple of people have mentioned the floods. Wanted you to know that last week, before the first special session ended, the Senate passed out all the bills regarding flood relief that were before the legislature. Then on Friday, when a second special session was convened, that day we passed out of committee all the flood bills that are before the legislature. And when we convene tomorrow, we'll pass out of the Senate all the flood bills that are before the legislature. So the Senate is moving forward with incredible speed on flood relief and some other measures that we need to take to do because of what happened. And so that's not being neglected. We're set up here for various committees to operate at the same time. So the work on flood relief is being taken care of with great expedition. So, but thank you for bringing that matter up.
Thank you, Senator King. Members, any other questions or comments? Senator Miles.
I want to thank you all for y'all's testimony here today. Thank you.
At this time, the chair will call forward Debora Chen. Rachel Rosen, Tara Anders, Anthony Gutierrez. Ms. Chen, we'll begin with you when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I am Debora Chen, representing myself and OCA Greater Houston against SB4. To the Texas senators holding this hearing, it is wrong for this redistricting to be conducted again purely for political reasons. It violates the Texan spirit of fairness. The communities of people who live in the current districts deserve fair representation in districts that keep our communities whole and connected. District maps should represent the neighborhoods we live in, work, worship, and send children to school. Cracking our communities deprives our communities a meaningful voice to elect leaders who understand our needs and is un-American. Deliberately targeting House District 9 that includes the Asiatown-Chinatown area with the intent to eliminate the district by cracking across multiple districts is unfair to the residents and businesses of this neighborhood and will result in confusion, less accountability, unfair distribution of resources, and a decrease in equitable access to services.
Ms. Chen, I will allow for your time. Are you representing an organization as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please state that organization name for the record.
OCA Greater Houston.
Thank you so much. Go forward.
Dividing our neighborhoods in a way that separates people with community ties and weakening our ability to impact policymakers and select policymakers that reflect our community is fundamentally unfair and un-American. We ask that you have the courage to not recommend new unfair maps. Each of you are here as policymakers with a rice bowl, right? And I say that meaning you are paid to represent all people in this state. As the person who came before me testified, this should be about one vote, one person. It should not be where it's 1/3 of, literally, what was it? If an African American would need 2 people in order to equal 1 vote, right? 2 million. And then a Latino would only need 1.2 million. But a Caucasian would be 440-some-thousand. Asians aren't even in there. Like, no one's even bothered to calculate us, right?
Thank you for your testimony very much.
Again,
we'll continue
please
through with this panel.
Be on the right side of history.
If members have questions, we'll ask those of you. Thank you very much. Senator Miles, any questions?
Just for the clarification, I agree with you. We are here to represent everyone in this state. But I got to clarify something. We're not paid to do that. We're at the state level, we're not paid. We're here as volunteers, just so you know. But I agree with you 100%. We are here to represent everyone in this state.
Thank you, Senator Miles. Go ahead, you're next.
Hi, my name is Rachel Rosen. I'm testifying on behalf of myself against SB4. I'm here today as a mother, a daughter, a wife, a product of Texas public schools, and a deeply concerned Texan. Before I start, I just have to say and echo what other folks have said. I really can't believe that this is happening on a Sunday afternoon. This entire process has felt extremely rushed, so rushed that Texans can't even show up. It's just not right. Before I came here, my 3-year-old daughter asked me why I had to leave. It broke my heart. I told her the truth. I said, some leaders are being unfair, and I need to speak up. I'm also aware that I carry many privileges that some Texans don't, and many Texans don't. I live here. I could show up on a whim, so I am here. And I want to be clear, the Texas classrooms that I grew up many, many moons ago taught me the golden rule, to treat others the way you would want to be treated. They taught me fairness, respect, and responsibility. Those values are why I'm here today. Because what's happening in this building violates the very lessons that Texas teachers taught me as a child. This process has shown me, as many have said, that instead of helping families recover after the devastating floods, people still needing help, that many leaders have been focused on redrawing maps to protect their political power. This is not leadership. This is wrong. I know what real power looks like. It looks like the neighbors I saw showing up with food, clearing debris, the ones who were just mentioned earlier. Everyday Texans leading with care. That is the Texas we need more of, not this. This process has been rushed, unfair, and disrespectful, honestly. An overwhelming number of Texans have testified about how cruel this is. Texans deserve better. Our children deserve better. I want my daughter to grow up in a Texas where fairness actually matters, where leaders listen, where power is rooted in service, not control. So I ask you to please dig deep into your heart and take a moment. Think about what's happening right here, how it's happening. Please think about the children. Children deserve leaders who care and serve the people, not themselves.
Thank you for your testimony very much. Ms. Anders.
Good afternoon. My name is Tara Anders, and I live in District 31. I'm testifying for myself. I'm here to strongly oppose SB4 and the rushed and clandestine process it produced. This remapping may not affect me directly, but as an old, privileged white lady, I believe in standing up when others are treated unjustly. I have friends whose communities are being carved into 3 districts, not for the public good, but to protect lawmakers unwilling to defend what's right. Texans are not pawns, and our trust is earned through honest and transparent governing, not by coercion. So let's be honest, there is no redistricting crisis. This is a manufactured emergency to justify a power grab. The current maps, flawed as they are, already delivered a decisive win for Republicans. If you believe in your political platform, you should be able to win again in 2026 without a mid-decade manipulation. Cheating to ensure victory is not the Texan way. Texans have shown up for weeks, and the majority are shouting no, yet you refuse to acknowledge the people's voices. They are Republican, Democrat, and independent voices. Instead, you perform like hypnotized loyalists fawning over being first in line to compliment the naked emperor's clothing. We care deeply about our right to vote for fair representation, our communities, public schools, hospitals, and our future. Redistricting is about who speaks for us in Congress and whether our voices are heard or suppressed for political gain. SB4 silences those voices. It ignores everyday Texans and undermines democracy. Show us you are listening. Remove this action from the session and redraw the map after 2030 census.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gutierrez, please begin.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Anthony Gutierrez. I'm the Executive Director of Common Cause Texas, testifying in opposition. Over the years, we at Common Cause Texas have done pretty good amount of redistricting work here. We've helped draft bills to create independent citizen redistricting commissions. We've helped train Texans on how to map out their communities of interest. But most of what we do is we try to convince people of what is wrong with the process of redistricting and how it can be reformed via all kinds of different ways. I have to say it's a pretty wonky thing, and it's usually pretty difficult, and most of the time people can't really relate to how redistricting impacts their day-to-day lives until now. I have to say, if there's one really good thing that's coming out of this right now, is there is an incredible wave of support that's coming for things like independent commissions and bans on partisan gerrymandering and bans on mid-decade redistricting. But I do fully appreciate we are not hearing reform bills during this special session, and we're not going to, but I think in the long term, we're going to get there. In the short term, I know we're here to talk about this bill today, this map. Again, I appreciate that y'all have voted on this map already. Everyone expects you to vote it out one more time. But I do think there's more to consider than what we had during the first committee hearing. You now really have a much broader idea of what's going to happen next. Like, I remember on the dais the first time, you all talked about California and them possibly redrawing in response to Texas, and now we know that list is going to get much longer. I had a list in my notes, and there was no way to fit it in there and stay within 2 minutes. Knowing now what we didn't know then, just the all-out gerrymandering arms race that's going to ensue, I think that is an important thing to consider. It has really changed the math on whether or not you're going to vote for this again, I think. It does seem like everybody is talking about redistricting in response to Texas. California does it if Texas does it. Other states, red states do it. If California does it, then other blue states respond. And we can just stop it today and just let
Thank you, sir.
voters,
Appreciate your testimony very much.
not map makers, decide the election.
For this
Thanks.
panel, members, any questions? Senator King, any questions?
Oh, just wanted to comment. Ma'am, you brought a very good point. Why are we doing this on a Sunday? The House and the Senate, of course, we had 6 hearings during the first special session, and we tried to do those. We did try to do evening, daytime. The House did a Saturday hearing, and because we've heard from people in the past, we've done this before. Well, I work during the week, or I can't do it in the evening because my kids are home. And so Sunday is just another opportunity where people might be able to come that haven't testified before. And that's actually what we've had today, is some people come who have not testified before. And maybe that's because Sunday afternoon is the only time they could. We also tried to put it very late in the day to more accommodate people. So we've tried to have it evenings, weekends, during daytime business hours so that as many people could come as could. We also have done telehearings so that anyone from around the state could testify without having to actually leave home, drive to Austin, something like that. And we even had a couple comical things, like one lady was at her granddaughter's 16th birthday and walked outside to testify, take a break for that. So we've really tried to move them around, and that's part of the reason for that. And so thank you. I just wanted to explain why we did that. And sir, you had mentioned, I think you used the word arms race, and you mentioned California. In all honesty, if you look at the number at the gerrymandering, if you want to use that term, that California has done for Democrats over recent years, they're going to have a really, really hard time finding any more Democrat districts to draw. But even that said, they use a redistricting commission, which means that they can't do that without doing a constitutional amendment. What we found, shockingly, is that other states have been doing extreme Democrat-based redistricting for many years, and Texas has actually been one of the more fair. Now, I will tell you, up until 2003, when Republicans had a majority and had an opportunity to participate in redistricting, up until that time, the districts were drawn to heavily favor Democrats. In fact, in 2003, there was not a single statewide office being held by a Democrat. All were Republican, and yet the congressional seats were strongly held by Democrats. So my point is that I don't think this is taking, first off, these districts are drawn very competitive. We don't know whether a Republican or Democrat's going to win them. We don't know. You can laugh, but if you actually look at the numbers, they're going to be much more competitive than they are today, and a little bit concerning so. And so we don't know who's going to win these. We don't know whether it'll be Republican or Democrat. We don't know whether it'll be white, black, Hispanic. I certainly don't know because I hadn't looked at any racial data and don't intend to. But as far as we can't be responsible for what other states do, we are kind of shocked at what we have learned they have been doing. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for
Is that
those
a question, or-
comments, Senator King. No questions from the panel. Thank you very much, Senator Miles.
Thank you. Ma'am, I think what you're trying to say is you're not only wondering why we're here on a Sunday, you're wondering why we're here, period, on this redistricting mid-decade. That's what you're wondering about. And I apologize to you for that, for us having to be here. And let me say to this panel, thank you for the passionate, informative, very informative testimonies by all of you. But we're here. And we are having to deal with it, even on a Sunday. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being very informative, and thank you for expressing yourselves as Texans.
Thank you, Senator Miles. Appreciate this panel very much and appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
At this time, the chair will call forward Clarissa Ortiz, Matilda Miller, I'm going to do my best with this, Tao Goh. And is Mr. Brian Chase, Jr. present with us? Please come forward, Mr. Chase. Ms. Ortiz, we can begin with you.
Thank you. My name is Clarissa Ortiz, and I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, a native Texan. And yes, I know, and we know, we're not stupid,
And
okay?
Ms. Ortiz, you represent yourself or
Yes.
or no
And
other
I'm,
organization?
but
Thank
Texas, you know, come on.
I'll-
We're in Texas,
well.
and I know that you people know exactly what is going on. Yes, this is a division, okay? It's to silence the voices of the people in Texas. Aren't you proud to be in Texas? I mean, we stand up and we fight. We don't back down from a fight. We don't back down from any games. This is like a big game. I think even Greg Abbott said, oh, that this is like football. He can't even stand up. He's in a chair. It's like the guy doesn't stand up to anything. He does whatever bidding Donald Trump says. I'm going to say it. Yes. It's smeared on our faces every day. You see it in social media. People, be proud to be in Texas. Fight for us. Fight for the Democratic Party. Yes. Is that my 2 minutes? Oh, I still got 48. Thank you. But, you know, I know that y'all know what's going on. Don't act like we're talking to a wall, okay? Yes, somebody was talking about Sunday. Yes, we took our time out of Sunday, wherever we had to be, to come here to please, please, please listen to the Texans, okay? We're proud. We're not going to back down, and this needs to stop, okay? This needs to stop. This bullying, because that's exactly what it is. They're trying to silence you, say, no, your vote doesn't count. Your voice doesn't need to be heard. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Right? Amen. It does matter. We matter. We're here. We're not going to back down.
Thank you, Ms.
Please.
Ortiz, very much. Appreciate your testimony. If you'll please slide the microphone over, and we will proceed with your testimony next, sir.
It's right here.
Mr. Chase.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Perfect.
Very well.
All right. Yes, my name is Brian Anthony Chase Jr. I am I'm a resident of Austin, Texas, and I'm testifying representing myself.
Very well. Go forward.
All right. So, in regards to SB 4, I must say that I am against this measure for the following reasons, and I'll just try to make it as simple and plain as possible. In terms of legality, the way this was crafted clearly violates the 10th, 14th, 15th, and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Acts of 1965. Additionally, ethically speaking, and even emotionally speaking, in the light of Texas floods or cuts to Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP food stamps benefits, I believe that the Texas residents are much better served going over those sessions instead of mid-level redistricting. Frankly speaking, redistricting mid-decade is cheating, for lack of a better word. And the actions of the Texas legislature to follow the demands of the federal DOJ just to secure the incumbent presidential party to receive 5 additional seats is grossly negligent.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Appreciate your testimony, and if you'll keep your seat, sir, until the next 2 witnesses have completed their testimony, then all 4 of you will be dismissed. And we very much appreciate your testimony. Also, after this this full panel has completed their testimony, there could be an opportunity that members on the dais may ask you questions. Please go ahead with your testimony, Matilda Miller.
Hi. So first I need to correct something that Senator King said. In the first special session, y'all didn't discuss flood relief until 2 weeks after it had started. That was when you filed those bills. Your priority in the first session was to get Trump his 5 free seats. And then you go and you pull this rat maneuver of ending the session, starting a new one, removing the 24-hour notice for hearings, and throwing as many bills as possible through hearings that they were run so fast they had started before the notices were even posted. I was here on Friday watching that happen. I saw y'all scurry over to the hearing room. Y'all were rushing, okay? Don't pretend like just because one of the bills that y'all rammed through on Friday was about flood relief, that it was actually a priority. In that first special session, the only one you actually planned to have, you had hearings on redistricting, banning trans people from bathrooms, and banning THC before you had hearings on flood relief. So in regards to the redistricting, why do y'all want to do this so badly? Are you scared of Donald Trump, or do you just not think that you can be a party that people want to vote for? What's so hard about just being a party that people want to vote for? Why not just help people? Why not just be a party that actually delivers for the people who vote for you, and then you won't need to rig the game. Then you won't need to pull maneuvers like this. Then you won't need to give Trump 5 free seats because he asks for it. No, because he demanded it like the petulant child that he is. Because he takes what he wants without asking anyone. Because he is, and this has been proven in court, a rapist, okay? That's the kind of guy that y'all are kowtowing to? What, you're scared of him? That's my generous assessment, is that you're scared, because the much more scary alternative is that you all actually like that about him, is that that's the kind of person that you want to be in charge of this country. And that, frankly, is something so disgusting that it is incredibly difficult to imagine. Y'all can be better than people who just kowtow to a rapist and wannabe dictator.
Thank you for your testimony. Help us with the pronunciation of your name.
My name is Tao Goh.
Thank you for that, and you may begin.
I'm
At
here.
this time, I would like, as the chair, I would ask the clerk to show that Senator Alvarado is with us today, present, and so is Senator Parker. Go ahead.
I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm proud to live in Round Rock, Texas, one of the most diverse and fastest growing community in the state. I'm here as an Asian American, a taxpayer, and a resident who is deeply concerned about this mid-cycle redistricting process. I strongly oppose this efforts. Let's be clear, there's no constitutional amendment, no legal necessity, no demographic urgency demanding a redraw of district lines at this time. The only change that's occurred since 2020 redistricting cycle is the community of color, including Asian Americans like me, have grown more visible and more politically active. That seems to be what the process is reacting to. The facts between 2010 and 2020, the Asian American population in Wilkinson County nearly doubled, growing from 21,312 over 40,000 residents, now representing nearly 9% of the county's population. In Round Rock, Asians now make up over 8% of the population with continued growth. That's thousands of voters who want and deserve to be heard. And yet, under past map, and certainly in this redistricting conversation, our community has been treated as a statistical inconvenience rather than a political constituency. Mid-cycle redistricting undermines the basic structure of representative democracy. The rules should not change in the middle of the game simply because the demographics are shifting. That's not redistricting. This is resegregating the vote. This isn't just about Round Rock. It's about whether communities like ours, community of color, new Americans, emerging voters, are seen as equal participants in the democratic process, or as practical threats to be divided and diffused. What we risk, confusing voters with unnecessary changes to representation, weakening communities of interest by splitting minority populations, reinforcing a narrative that political system only serve the party in power.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Now that this panel has completed their testimony, members, any questions, any comments? Thank you. Yes, Senator Miles.
I just want to draw to the attention of this committee that Mr. Chase Jr. has been sitting in every committee hearing that we've had since we started this committee, Mr. Chairman. I would just think that we could give him an extra to finish his statement. The man has sat through every committee that we've called, Mr. Chairman. If it's okay, after privilege, to let him allow him another minute to finish his statement.
Well, Senator Miles, we have to keep everybody's time the same, but if you would like hear me out. If you would like to ask Mr. Chase a question in order to finish his last thought, of course you're recognized to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chase, I'm going to ask you straight out. What's your question? Finish your statement for me, please, if you don't mind. I'd like to hear it. You've been here every committee we've had.
Well, first off, thank you so much, Senator Miles, for allowing me that privilege. What I was going to say, frankly, is that I believe personally, and from my observations and just historical knowledge of everything, going forward through with this process, that none of the voters called for organically, and this was a complete oversight from the federal government violating states' rights and state quorum. I think it's one, grossly negligent and mishandling of representation of Texans. And if we go forward with this redistricting mid-decade, we're not setting ourselves in a better example of other states that have practiced other sorts of gerrymandering tactics like California or New York or Illinois. And I believe as a resident of Texas for 28 years, we can do better, and Texas has an independent spirit that we should maintain the integrity of.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Senator Miles, any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chase, and thank you, Senator Creighton.
Members, any other comments? Appreciate this panel very much. You're excused. Thank you for your testimony. call our next four witnesses. The chair calls Daniela Hernandez, Stephen Deline, Sarah Beck, and Connor Rice. Is Stephen Deline with us? Deline. Chloe Wilkinson, please come forward. Dylan Flaherty. Is Dylan with us today? Yes. Have a seat, sir. Thank you. Please begin.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes. State your name and who you represent.
Yeah.
and
Good
your position on the
afternoon.
bill. Thank
My
you.
name is Daniela Hernandez. I'm the State Legislative Coordinator at Workers Defense Action Fund, and I'm here to testify against SB 4. Workers Defense strongly opposes these efforts. We believe that our redistricting process must be independent and nonpartisan. These new maps drawn are a blatant attack on our elections and on our Texas communities. With these maps, elected officials have essentially cherry-picked their new voters and further gerrymandered the state. You have districts that share Austin and College Station, ones that share Buda and the Gulf Coast, simply to give Republicans 5 more congressional seats so that the current administration can continue with their unpopular policies that are hurting our communities. Again, our map should be fair and should be drawn independently, reflecting the diversity of our state. We're concerned with how we're ramming through this process at a very fast pace. No one wants this. You've heard from thousands of Texans across the state telling you to please not do this and instead focus on things that will bring a better quality of life for Texans. 2 years ago, in the summer of 2023, Texas workers asked their governor to add heat safety to the many special session calls we had that year. Texas workers asked this of their governor as temperatures continued to rise well into the triple digits throughout the summer, and as workers were dying because there are no local, state, or federal protections in place. When Texas workers asked, Governor Abbott ignored. This summer, one man in Washington decided he wanted 5 extra Republican seats in Congress and called Governor Abbott, and Governor Abbott said, "You got it." One man in Washington asked, and Governor Abbott did it without hesitation. Texas workers asked, and Governor Abbott ignored. So who are these maps serving? And who is the legislature serving with these maps? Because it's not Texas communities. We urge you to not move forward with these maps, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sarah Beck. Dear representatives of the people, I am a born and raised Texan, resident of the 37th Congressional District. I want to remind you that as our elected officials, your duty is to serve and represent the people. The fact that I am speaking here today is because our government wants to disregard that. I'm amazed and disgusted by the growing attempts to disenfranchise Texas citizens and the American people. District mapping should take place with up-to-date census information and in compliance with the Voting Rights Act to ensure maps don't dilute the voting power of communities of color. The only reason redistricting is being discussed right now is because the presidential administration identified 4 districts they want flipped via gerrymandering. Districts 9, 18, 29, and 33, districts which are currently electing people of color. This is obviously and blatantly racial discrimination. You'd have to think we're dull to claim it as anything else. As Texans, we will not stand for this unlawful power grab. I am disappointed in our president and our governor taking advantage of the vulnerable state of our citizens right now after the recent climate-related flooding and hundreds of deaths. Our current congressional delegation does not represent the people. Texas consists of 60% people of color, but only 34% of our congressional delegation is represented by people of color. To break up the 4 districts mentioned would be to more falsely represent the racial makeup of our state and is overtly racist. And Chair King, you mentioned that you are not aware of any of the racial makeup of the maps, but I am telling you right now that these new maps would break up those districts based on the color and race of the residents. You are meant to represent people of Texas. Now do that. Citizens are showing up to the Capitol en masse to express how they do not want our maps redrawn. I am appalled that the Senate has scheduled a hearing at all after the litany of hearings prior to this, where the extreme majority of people voiced outrage at the idea of redistricting. As Texans, we are strong and proud, and we will not let you or the president quietly silence us. We are being pressured and manipulated by our federal government, and as Texas...
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Go ahead, Chloe Wilkinson. Appreciate your time.
Hi, my name is Chloe Wilkinson. I am the Secretary of the Texas Young Democrats. Let me start off with two statements of gratitude. First off, thank you as a Jewish Texan for not scheduling this on Saturday. I am sad for my Christian brothers and sisters who had to come here on their Sabbath, but democracy cannot wait. And secondly, let me issue a statement of thank you to the Senate Democratic Caucus and the 9 senators that walked out during the vote on the Senate floor. The message was received clear, and we are ready to support the 9 senators that walked out unequivocally in any way that we can. And I want to also point out that on Monday, August 11th, we issued a statement to the Democratic Congressional Delegation of Texas asking them to stop partisan gerrymander by any means possible, including ending mid-decade redistricting. But we also pointed out other bills that we would like to be sent forward in Congress, including the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the For the People Act, and any measures that would further create strict rules around compactness and would get rid of single voter districts. I bring all this up because we do not have to rely on the federal government to do this. We could be the exception. We could be the state that chooses an independent path. We could vote down in this committee today these maps, and we could have a real conversation about fair voting rights, because the truth is that California already has their final draft. And I know, Mr. King, you said that they don't have the ability to create 5 maps, but that map gives them 5 new Democratic districts under 2024 results. So at this point, if the California map gets passed and the Texas map gets passed, we are at a point where there will be a net zero, and less people will be in competitive districts, and less people's voices will be heard. Thank you, and that is my time.
Appreciate your testimony. Please proceed.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senators. My name is Dylan Flaherty. I'm here to represent myself. I took notes this time. So, I think that it's important that we don't pretend that this is serving Texas. This is only serving politicians that are wishing to grovel and scrape for the scraps that are coming off the tables at Mar-a-Lago. There is nothing that benefits from this. I can see you roll your eyes, Chair King, but you know exactly what it is. You know exactly what it is. Families in Austin, Pflugerville, Central Texas, they shouldn't be represented by people north of Houston or in West Texas, out in Midland, and you shouldn't be picking your voters. The voters should be picking you. And at the end of the day, if conservative policies were so effective and so well liked, you wouldn't have to do this. You know that you're losing, and you know that your policies are so inherently unlikable that you're having to cheat. And so instead of doing this, just do a better job. Just draft policies, draft legislation that actually helps everyday Texans. Focus on flood victims. Focus on funding public schools. Actually do something for us. I say this with sincerity, and I can see contempt in some of y'all's faces. And it's no surprise to me, because honestly, I think a lot of you are cowards. You're cowards to the president, you're cowards to the current governor, and frankly, none of this surprises me. It's a shame that we are where we are, but I guess we are where we are. Thank you.
Members, any comments or questions of the panel? Senator Miles.
I just want to say thank you to this panel for a very honest testimony. Very honest testimony.
With no other questions from the dais, each of you are excused. Appreciate your testimony. This time the chair calls Veronikah Worms, Connor Rice, Dr. Craig Nazer, Stephen DeLine. Chair will also call forward Susan McNeil and Janelle Zuberbeer. Ms. Worms, we'll begin with you.
Sure. My name is Veronikah Worms, and I am a policy attorney representing the Texas Civil Rights Project against SB4. This map is a blatant attempt to rob Texans of color of their political power. Texas gained 2 additional congressional districts in 2021 due to the population growth in communities of color, but the legislature did not draw a map that gave these Texans the representation that they deserve. This proposal makes an already discriminatory map even worse. If it were implemented, white Texans who comprise only 40% of the population would control 79% of the congressional delegation. Texans know an unfair system when they see one. The district lines drawn here cannot be explained away on partisanship. As the Supreme Court noted in Bartland v. Strickland, a state intentionally destroying effective crossover districts raises serious constitutional concerns. The DOJ's letter, while completely misstating the law, cited impermissible racial considerations in 4 majority-minority districts, not a quest for partisan advantage. What the legislature delivered with SB4 is a map that brazenly and intentionally cracks historic majority-minority districts, including court-ordered VRA districts, then packs other minority groups into tight urban areas to dilute their political power. That is targeted racial discrimination, plain and simple. The lengths that the state has gone to deny Texans fair representation in this redistricting farce are staggering. Thousands of Texans showed up on short notice during the House and Senate hearings, many traveling from hours away to give this body testimony on how this map specifically destroys their representation and would adversely impact their communities. Respectfully, this map's drafters have clearly disregarded the public's testimony on this map's impact and their overwhelming opposition to this rushed redraw. Compliance with the law is the bare minimum of what Texans have a right to expect from their government, and this map does not even live up to that standard. It impermissibly cracks and packs communities on the basis of race, and Texans have stood up to tell you so. Whether or not you listen to that testimony is up to you, but it does not change the facts laid bare in the record. We urge the committee to focus on disaster relief instead of creating a new disaster in this destructive and discriminatory map. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Please proceed, sir.
My name is Dr. Craig Nazer. I represent both the Sierra Club and myself. We oppose this bill and support the comments submitted by Dr. Cyrus Reed outlining the negative effects gerrymandering will have on environmental advocacy. The Texas Senate would have never considered this bill on its own. You were asked to do it by a liar and a convicted felon, unfortunately elected president. A recent Supreme Court decision has declared racial gerrymandering unconstitutional, but political gerrymandering constitutional. The Republican Party no longer has a platform. Its guiding principles are now whatever the president says. If those principles are racist, then partisan gerrymandering is also racist gerrymandering and should be rejected. Then there is integrity. I was raised by a family of Republican lawyers. My grandfather was so well known politically that he was invited to Tricia Nixon's wedding. I became of age to vote in 1972. From what I could tell, Nixon was a liar and a crook. One night at a family dinner, my grandfather asked me for whom I would vote. Nervously, but with conviction, I said George McGovern. My grandfather angrily asked me why. I told him that I thought Nixon was a liar and a crook and that such a person should not be president. I was adamant, and the subject was eventually dropped. That night, my grandfather had a heart attack and a stroke, and subsequently walked with a cane. Some members of my family forever after blamed me for that. On the day Nixon resigned, it was just my grandfather and I watching the news. After Nixon flashed his victory signs and disappeared into the helicopter, my grandfather turned to me and said, "Craig, you were right. He was a liar and a crook." That's integrity. If the Republicans of today retained any sliver of that
you, sir.
integrity, you would stop this epic battle
Thank
you
you
are
for
about.
your testimony, sir. We'll have to end it there. Appreciate that, Dr. Nazer. Very much appreciate you being here. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Susan McNeil, and I am against this bill. I represent myself. You all have heard almost unanimously from Texans that we do not want this map or redistricting pre-census. Senator King had presented 3 reasons to justify the need for 5 additional seats: the ballooning deficit, fentanyl, and the border crisis. In 2016, when the felon took office, the deficit was $587 billion. In 2020, when he begrudgingly left, it was $3.1 trillion. In 2024, when Biden left office, it was $1.8 trillion. So the felon is responsible for the deficit ballooning. This Republican regime could give 2 hoots and a holler about fentanyl or any other drugs. The felon has commuted the sentences of dozens of drug traffickers to include 2 high-profile cases: Maria Johnson serving a life sentence for cocaine trafficking, and Ross Ulbricht, founder of the Silk Road, the dark web marketplace trading in narcotics and other illegal products and services. From these actions, it can be reasonably inferred that the fentanyl issue is largely smoke and mirrors. With respect to the border, I agree. President Biden's policies left it effectively open, but measures have already been taken to remedy the situation. Because the reasoning for the 5 seats is grounded in faulty assumptions, the claim that the deficit, fentanyl, and border justify the requested outcome cannot be sustained. It defies comprehension that you would forsake the Constitution and your constituents for a righteously convicted felon, a serial liar, racist, sexual degenerate, and malignant narcissist. Maybe one day one of you can truthfully explain that
Thank you
to
for
me.
your testimony. Members, any comments or questions? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank
Senator Miles.
I just want to thank this panel for a very passionate testimony. Thank you, all of you.
Thank each of you for being with us today and bringing your testimony forward. At this time, the chair will call Lauren Pena, Nicholas Wan, Robert Norris, and Janelle Zuberbeer. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Robert Norris, representing myself and opposed to Senate Bill 4. First of all, I object to the rushed process this committee is using to adopt a Republican redistricting map by holding this public hearing with very little public notice. You've scheduled a meeting for tomorrow with no public testimony, so apparently you really just want to vote out Senate Bill 4 as quickly as possible. President Trump wants this legislature to adopt a new congressional map so that he can continue favoring wealthy and powerful Republicans. These are the same people who want to undermine our public sector. I've lived most of my life in Travis County. The map you're considering will redraw our local districts so that at least one of our excellent congressmen, Lloyd Doggett or Greg Casar, is less likely to be elected in the future. Also, communities of color in Texas will lose vital representation if this map is adopted. Texas has a shameful history of disenfranchising blacks and Hispanics. Senate Bill 4 will just continue that. The map before you will have an adverse impact on many of the state's residents, so I definitely oppose it and urge you to not adopt it.
Thank you for your testimony. At this time, the chair would like to also remind everyone that we had established 5 p.m. as a cutoff for registration to testify today. The committee allowed another half hour, and now that it's 5:30, we will close registration for public testimony. Go ahead, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, registration closed at 5. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Swan. Thank you for being here today. I'm representing myself. I'm against the bill. I'm from Nassau Bay in the Houston area in the 36th Congressional District. I am absolutely disgusted with Texas Republicans. It goes without saying mid-decade redistricting at the demands of the president is abhorrent, pathetic, and uncalled for with national consequences. During the last hearing, when Senator Miles asked the Texas president of the NAACP how these maps would violate the Voting Rights Act and effectively disenfranchise minorities, especially black folks, Senator King turned a blind eye to it all. All the committee members here are smart enough to know that the redrawn districts are more of the same partisan power grab that Republicans have engaged with for decades now and will be a direct violation of the Voting Rights Act. Because these maps benefit Republicans and in turn yourselves, why, on a matter of principle, would Texas Republicans say, no, Mr. Trump and Mr. Abbott, we do not want to hurt the people of Texas for our own gain? Why would the so-called arbiters of freedom and small government say, we will not listen to your demands to expand our power in legally dubious ways for your own twisted desires, then immediately roll over and give the federal government whatever they demanded? The answer is simple. Texas Republicans are shameless, selfish, utterly depraved, and morally bankrupt. Nobody wants this. How many hundreds of people have you heard over the first special session telling you that this is not what we want? Do us all a favor and stand up for something, anything that your citizens want or don't want, and anything that doesn't directly benefit you or line your own pockets. I will leave you with a quote from Norman Rockwell. We are the governed, but we govern too. Assume our love of country, for it is only the simplest of self-love. Worry little about our strength, for we have our history to show for it. And because we are strong, there are others who have hope. But watch closely from now on, for those of us who stand here mean to watch those we put in the seats of power. And listen to us, who you lead, for we are listening harder for the truth that you have not always offered us. Your voice must be ours, and ours to speak of cities that are not safe, of wars we do not want, of poor in a land of plenty, and of a world that will not take the shape our arms would give it. We are not fierce, and the truth will not frighten us. Trust us, for we have given you our trust. We are the governed, remember, but we govern too. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you. Members, any questions?
Oh, my name is
Go ahead.
Janelle Zerver, representing myself and against redistricting. I am a proud union member, a single mother of biracial daughters, and a U.S. Army veteran. Republicans are continuing this charade because Trump and Abbott told you to. Shame on you. You have lost all moral compass and have bent the knee. I support our Texas Democrats for breaking quorum. And before you roll your eyes, Texas Republicans have broken quorum themselves, so stop the faux outrage. Answer me this, why are you truly doing this? Are you worried that you can't get reelected on your own merit because you have screwed up so badly with the people of Texas? Why? Is it because you have taken away women's rights? Why? Hundreds of thousands of Texans have shown up against this rigged racist map at protests, rallies, and hearings to tell you it's wrong. Why are you not listening to us? Just know you will be judged on your actions and you will be found wanting. Honoring the late, great RBG, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen to side with the oppressors. Do not be an oppressor, do the right thing. Politicians, no matter the party, should never be a part of the map building process. Thank you.
Appreciate each of your testimony. With no comments from the dais, Senator Miles.
Just want to thank them for their testimony, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Alvarado, you're right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you say you live in Houston?
That's correct, Nassau Bay.
Okay, so who is your current member of Congress?
Brian Babin.
Okay, and then, who's your senator?
Texas Senator is, Ted Cruz.
No, Texas.
I'm so sorry. It's Senator Miles. I apologize.
Oh, I think it's Mays Middleton. Yeah.
I apologize.
Under the proposed map, do you remain in that congressional district or another one?
With the U.S. congressional redistricting, the issue is that basically we stay in the same area, but it's basically our community, Nassau Bay, is sectioned off from the rest of Houston. And it goes all the way directly to the borders of Louisiana, and it goes to the east of the state.
What a mess! Thank you.
Thank you.
You're excused. Appreciate your testimony today. This time the chair calls Lauren Pena, Ashley Morgan, Levi King and Carrie King. I don't believe Ms. Pena is still with us. Oh, Ms. Morgan. Hi, Ms. Pena. Ashley Morgan. With Ms. Morgan already exited from the hearing, Chair will now call Stephen Lawrence. Mr. King, will begin with you.
Hello again, committee. My name is Levi King. I am a 16-year-old junior at Crockett High School, and this is my second time testifying on behalf of myself against this proposed redistricting. Even though this committee has heard numerous testimonies across multiple days in opposition of this rigged redistricting, you still seek to pass it through. Isn't this supposed to be the land of the free? The vote is our most powerful non-violent weapon, one that immigrant founders of our country fought so hard to earn, yet in modern times, it is manipulated just because the president said so. This sounds like the same sort of tyranny our founders escaped from in the first place. In the last session, Chairman King openly admitted that these maps aim to give 5 more seats to Republican congressmen. And while I respect his honesty, in what way is this equitable? Well, it simply isn't. This racist rigged districting goes against our country's values and is not something that Texan constituents will stand for. How does it make sense for politicians to be choosing their voters when it's the voters who should choose their politicians? Texas legislators must stop the continuous disadvantaging of the people of color who live in their state. Instead of focusing Texas's efforts on flood relief and regaining women's health care, we are here today giving congressional seats to our felon-wielding president on a silver platter. Please end the packing and cracking of majority-minority congressional districts and reject this map, which does not even deserve a special session in the first place. I will continue to utilize my First Amendment right and stand up against the Texas legislation and legislators that are attempting to silence its constituents' voices. Thank you all for your time.
Appreciate your testimony, Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brother King, I want to thank you again for being here. I remember you the first time you testified, and I definitely remember you the second time, and I think everybody in this committee will. Like I said before, you've got a bright future ahead of you, and you just keep on voicing your opinion, young brother, and you'll go a long way for the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Ms. King, go forward. Appreciate you.
Hello, my name is Carrie King, and I'm testifying on behalf of myself, still against SB4. I was one of the constituents turned away after waiting for 12 hours when this bill was before the House. I was also here on August 7th and got to testify. That hearing happened to be my son Levi's very first time to testify on his panel. A fellow witness was given permission to prominently display a Confederate flag in this room before this committee. Vice Chair Creighton, you said nothing, not a single thing to temper or mediate the tension in the room. Instead, the Confederate flag-toting witness got the last word, even audibly saying to the committee, "Tell her to be quiet," regarding the witness who respectfully asked that the flag be removed. Not a single committee member redirected the blatantly racist ultra-MAGA scene playing out before our eyes. The brazen display of white supremacy in this room, bound by decorum, spoke volumes and echoes the terror of fascism sweeping across our country. I also have issue with a request made by Senator King in this room on August 7th. You asked that us witnesses, Chairman King, focus our testimony on the maps. You asked that we provide you technical information about how we think the maps could be improved. How, sir, are you deaf to the fact that we Texans don't want this map in the first place? We sat and listened to you introduce this bill on August 7th, and you said clear as day that these maps aim to gain 5 Republican seats, not to make voting more fair, not to improve equal representation as protected by the Voting Rights Act. No. Instead, Senator King and Republican legislators, you have capitulated to the regime in D.C. You've turned your backs on our state constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and your constituents. Senator King, you let us know that this body is working on flood relief, but it's clear to most Texans that Abbott can allocate flood relief funds at any moment. He is simply and cruelly withholding for political leverage. Shame. Trump, Abbott, Texas Republican legislators, we see you, your complicity, your greed, and your disregard for your oath. Texas Democrats, we see you and your fortitude. Hold the line. We the people, we're in this together. Stop this redistricting now. Love wins. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Pena.
Hello, my name is Lauren Pena. I'm here testifying on behalf of myself in favor of this bill. First of all, I want to tell you guys that I appreciate you for being out here. I know it's been a lot of work because I've been here most of the time with you. I want to shift this conversation away from race because I've noticed in all the past hearings, all we keep hearing about is race. And I want to talk about poverty. So if we take the old map versus the new map, the change that it's going to make here in Travis County, there's a potential that I would have the opportunity to represent nearly 30% of the population currently living in poverty. And as I've mentioned several times, we're facing numerous violations to our civil rights and discriminatory practices. So when it comes to representation, I think that this new drawn map, especially here in Travis County, would be beneficial for the entire population because we are currently represented by complete in all levels of government, the Democrat Party, and we're facing so many civil rights violations and discriminatory practices, including failure to accommodate people in regards to the ADA protocols that we have in place for the federal government. So I'm in support of this bill because, again, I'm going to have the opportunity to represent nearly 30% of the population that is living in poverty. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Lawrence. You may begin.
My name is Stephen Lawrence. I'm here on behalf of myself and my organization, Clear Rule of Law. I'm a lifetime conservative. I'm a former GOP staffer, including for a House Majority Leader, campaign manager, and district chairman. I'm here because I am a conservative, and I believe in the 7 core principles of conservatism as posted on Speaker Johnson's website. The president has violated all of these and is doing it on a daily basis, and the House Republican caucus has backed him up. He doesn't need more votes to have more members to back him up. He has a problem. 4 members are on the record voting to subpoena the Epstein files, and now the president has a problem because he doesn't have an Epstein-proof majority. So he comes to Texas and he says, give me 5 more votes. And you say, yes, sir, and instead of no, come and take it, or maybe demanding something that Texans need. Texans need relief from taxation without representation through tariffs. They've been ruled unilateral. They've been ruled unconstitutional. My question for you, Mr. King, Senator King, is your website honest and the truth? If so, why have you been governing against it? And are you going to change now and defend Texas and the people, or continue to defend pedophiles, predators on behalf of a proven rapist president?
Members, any questions?
Sure.
Senator
Mr.
Miles,
Chairman.
you're recognized.
Yes. Mr. Lawrence, can
Yes,
you give
sir.
me your credentials one more time?
I'm a Texas lawyer. I live in Fort Worth in Senate District 9, and my group is called Clear Rule of Law, which was founded this year in response to the tariffs.
And you said you were conservative?
Yes, sir.
And you worked for a GOP?
I did in the past, sir.
In the past?
Yes.
And you're against or for this bill?
I am against this bill.
You're against this
And the process, yes, sir.
And the process?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate this panel. This time, the chair will call once again Ashley Morgan, Connor Rice, Stephen DeLine. You may begin.
My name is Connor Rice, Chairman, members of the committee. I'm from Corpus Christi, and I oppose SB 4, speaking on behalf of myself, because it does not serve the peace and prosperity of my city. I started this morning at First United Methodist Church, Corpus Christi, where our preacher read us this morning's scripture, Jeremiah 29:7, which applies today. Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. For Corpus Christi to prosper, all of the people must have a voice. But this map takes our historically black Hillcrest community, cuts it out of Corpus Christi, and sends it miles north all the way to a district that ends just a couple miles south of this capital. Then you take a couple of our west side, predominantly Hispanic, low-income communities and pack it into a district away from Corpus Christi. The rest of our community is sent south to a district nearly 200 miles past. This is not seeking the prosperity of Corpus Christi, it is silencing it. The prosperity of my city is bound up in whether every community has fair representation. Gerrymandering fractures Hillcrest and a couple of our predominantly Hispanic West Side neighborhood, denying us unity that we need to thrive. If communities are weakened, voices are diluted, then all while our city suffers. I lastly urge my Senator Hinojosa to use, as a constituent of his, to use all his tools necessary to fight back against these maps. I urge you to reject this plan and draw maps that honor the history, dignity, and shared values of the people and the future of all of our communities and all the communities that you represent. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Rice. Members, any questions? Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things about Corpus Christi and Oasis County is that we are really a community of interest with a port, with Army Depot, with the different refineries. And this map is written, it really divides Nueces County, divides Corpus Christi, and sets them apart. So it really splits any community of interest that we've had. This will be very damaging, would you agree, to our constituents, to the citizens of Corpus Christi and Nueces County?
Yes, as you know, we have one of the largest and strongest ports in the world. We also are a military community. And as you know, Senator, we just lost, we're getting, by the end of September or the beginning of September, we're losing 200 jobs because of federal cuts to our military base right now. Individuals who are losing their jobs and likely either going to relocate out of our community, but you have the historic Hillcrest community that for decades has thrived. You have the predominantly West Side Hispanic community that is literally just like cut out, just like small neighborhoods of it, not even all of them together, just portions of our communities that are cut off. So we're going to see a big fragmentation because the reality is that a district a couple miles south of this capital does not understand the port, does not understand our military community, but also doesn't understand our coastal community because coastal communities suffer, very different scenarios from our hurricanes to our windstorm flood relief that Chairman Hunter, champions. So we have very different issues, from our military base and how we advocate for them to our Port of Corpus Christi. So it's going to really fraction our community, and it's also going to fraction our representation of such a strong community.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rice. Members, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
You're excused. Appreciate that. Now, with the committee showing no other witnesses registered, we're going to ask at this time for anyone here in the audience that would like to fill out a paper registration form and to come forward. You can come forward now and fill out that paper registration form, and you'll be allowed to. You'll fill out your registration card and leave those cards with our clerk here, and then we'll call you forward. The chair will call forward William Breeding. Is that the right pronunciation, Mr. Breeding?
Yes, sir.
We can begin with you, as we have just a couple of others that will take a seat next to you as soon as their cards are turned in. At this time, the chair will call Amy Litzinger to also have a seat at the table, the witness table, and the chair will call Beth Burns. Mr. Breeding, you can begin.
First of all, I'd like to say my name is William Breeding, and I'm against this plan and this process. The fact that y'all did away with the notification rule, as well as multiple other safeguards that allow Texans to come and voice their opinion, is abominable. Secondly, I live in Pflugerville. My state rep is Cheryl Cole. My state senator is Senator Eckert. My representative in Congress is Representative Sessions. Representative Sessions' district currently, under the currently gerrymandered maps that y'all passed last time, almost touches the state of Louisiana, and in fact is closer to the state than the representative lives to me, even though I live in one of the fastest growing parts of the state. Under this new plan, I would be moved into District 11, and my representative would be Representative Pfluger. This means my representative would now be 3 times as far away from me, and my district would almost touch New Mexico. In what world does someone living in Pflugerville have the same needs, wants, and issues to bring to their representative as someone living in Lufkin, which is included in my current district, or all the way out in West Texas? It doesn't. So I'm against this process of you redrawing mid-century. I'm against these maps that you've drawn, both the currently enacted ones and the even worse ones that you're trying to shove down our throats. This is shameful. This is ridiculous. And my honest question to the Republicans, if you think your policies are so good, if you think Texans support you, why do you have to force districts to be red? Why not have a bunch of purple districts?
Thank you for your
Or are you
testimony.
cowards?
Appreciate you, Mr. Breeding. Go ahead. You're next.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Beth Burns, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Now I live about 20 minutes west of here in the Cuernavaca neighborhood. I'm here to testify against SB 4 today. I wanted to let you know that I lived in California briefly. I moved back to Texas because I wanted a safe place to bring up my daughter. Right now, I'm in Congressional District 37 with my entire neighborhood. Cuernavaca neighborhood's odd because we're in the vortex of this redistricting effort that is literally going to divide my very small neighborhood into 3 different districts. My mom, who lives just like a 5-minute walk from me, she'll be with Mr. Sessions. I'll likely be in District 10 with Mr. McCall. Some of my neighbors will still be with Doggett or Kazar, depending on which one of those voices are shut down. Now, my new district, District 10, is going to be interesting because it snakes all the way about 2.5-hour drive east to Bryan, Texas. And I think you will all know what is interesting about Bryan, Texas right now is that it is the new home to Ghislaine Maxwell. So I will be sharing my new district, not with my mother, 5 minutes away, but with Ghislaine Maxwell, who is now at Camp Bryan. And I think it's important to note that this doesn't seem to be for us, but does seem to be designed to split our communities apart so that it doesn't matter that much electorally if we don't like somebody that's a child sex offender getting moved here and given the sweet treatment. If I think that's wrong, my voice no longer matters as much. It seems to be just an effort to keep one man in ever more abusive consolidation of power, a man with very strange choices and friends, I might add. Please push back against redistricting, stand up for Texans. Because if you don't, we're kind of all in Ghislaine Maxwell's district, aren't we? And Republicans, more than anyone, don't stain yourselves with this. I don't think anyone here is for child sex traffickers, right? So please, please stand against this. Thank you.
Amy Litzinger, please go forward. Please continue or provide your testimony now. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Amy Litzinger, and I am representing myself and Texas Parent to Parent, which is a statewide nonprofit supporting families with disability. I am here as their public policy lead. I am speaking in opposition to SB 4. Despite my quadriplegia, I was fortunate enough to receive an excellent education when our schools were adequately funded. I graduated with 8 AP credits, triple majored in college, and later attended seminary for graduate school. Now I work and contribute to my community. I have managed to remain in the community and not be institutionalized despite the shortage of attendance. That fragile stability is now threatened by the recent passage of H.R. 1, which drastically reduces Medicaid. Because Texas's LTSS services are not an entitlement, they're at serious risk. We need a cleanup bill, yet this legislation would make it even harder to reach lawmakers by reducing the number of offices we can contact. And the truth is, Republican lawmakers do not answer our calls and refuse to engage with us or our concerns. This means the only federal legislators we are able to work with are Democrats. Elderly and disabled Texans often move to larger cities to access subspecialists and hospitals, precisely the communities this bill targets. In summary, I urge you to reject this bill. I do not want to live in an institution. To remain in the community, I must be able to work with limited access to those who will listen. Please do not cut off the representation I need to survive. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Members, any comments? Senator Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amy, where did you say you live?
I live in North Austin.
Okay. Who's your member of Congress right now?
Lloyd Doggett.
Okay. And do you happen to know where you'll be under the proposed map?
It won't be in his district. It will be in a Republican district. And like I said, they are much less willing to take our information and request for dialogue.
Okay. Thank you for making the trip and voicing your concerns. I know it's probably not easy for you to get around over here, but I know it's important for you enough to be here and voice your concern in person. Thank you.
Members, any other comments? Thank you. This panel's excused. The chair will call Linda Litzinger, Teresa Blanton, Stephanie Ryder Morris, Tyler Rayburn. Ms. Litzinger, go forward, please. Thank you.
Morris, yes.
Ms. Morris.
Did you call Litzinger?
We'll go with Ms. Morris first. Thank you, Ms. Litzinger. Please proceed, Ms. Morris.
I'm Stephanie Morris, fourth-generation Texan, nurse and beekeeper. I live in Leander, where the South San Gabriel River flows across our land. On July 5th, our home and bee yard flooded as the river rose 35 feet with filthy water and debris. We lost so much, but we are lucky. Texans are suffering from floods and the policy failures that made them worse. We need your help, not partisan map games. Short-sighted development changed our lives and land long before this flood. We live downstream from the best, most beautiful pollutant discharge in the state. Millions of gallons per day of poorly treated wastewater turn a pristine stream into year-round stinky, rotting, algae-covered quicksand. It pollutes our land and degrades the river. They take our water and replace it with wastewater, flash floods, and fire. Those who profit, rape, and pillage then move on to the next paradise to destroy at our expense. Unscrupulous individuals are exploiting freedoms meant for Texans who know freedom comes with responsibility. They profit off reshaping the land, raising grade, filling creek beds, and paving native ground. Water does what water does when people get up in her business. Now even small rains flood faster and angrier. Between storms, our wells, springs, and creeks dry up. Our wells are running dry, y'all. It's not developers or cities with deep new wells going dry, it's ours. And it's not those sending their waste downstream who live with the consequences. We do. Our rivers, our land, our health. Land use isn't just about property, and lives are lost after floods, not just during them. The stress is crushing. People get sick, people die. Our lives, livestock, livelihoods, and Texan way of life are in your hands. You may think redistricting isn't about floods, land use, or water, but it is. Drawing lines decides who has a voice and who gets left behind. Please do better for Texans. We are not Republicans or Democrats. We are Texans. God bless y'all and God bless Texas.
Testimony. Appreciate your testimony very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Miles.
Thank you for your very passionate testimony.
Sir.
If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying you and your community needs help,
Yes,
correct?
we're not getting it.
You're not getting it.
And our representatives do not answer.
And you live where?
I live in Leander, Texas. I was redistricted just a few years ago.
And who was your state representative?
Caroline Harris Davila,
And who was your state senator?
Dr. Schwertner.
Have you reached out to either one of them? Answer, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And you've gotten no
I have
response.
stood in their offices crying, begging. I'm very grateful. There's a
I'm sorry for your pain, man.
special session because at least I know where they are now. At least you can come here and you can go to their offices, whether they're willing to hear you or help on any of these matters that we've been living with for years, allowing others to profit off of taking Texas land, Texas lives, and Texas natural resources, our private property, our safety, our health. This is not how we do things here.
I agree.
It's just not how we do things here.
I stated last week that we're Texans. And I don't know when we come to the point to where we succumb to pressure from the White House. And I would assume that you would agree with me that this redistricting is a big waste of time. Would you agree?
It has, and
Go ahead, speak your mind, man. Speak your piece.
and
That's what
they
you came
are
for.
using our flooding and the lost people are still finding.
Take your time.
Most of us that live where we do, not all, but most. Unlike the Guadalupe, God bless it, all those families, homes, people that were lost. Every life and every family matters. But most of us in these other areas that did not get coverage, a lot of people aren't even aware of all the people lost on Sandy Creek, all the homes lost on Sandy Creek and the South San Gabriel and other waterways, that the water rose in ways that it did not previous to the development that we are surrounded with. Open land use is taking our properties, but they're still finding body parts, which is horrible to say. When people are counted as recovered, that doesn't mean they were recovered intact. Our representatives who have constituents whose families are suffering and dealing with even NFIP coverage, even though we had coverage, but there are loopholes and most of our losses will not be covered. Dealing with FEMA and NFIP, as I was told by our adjuster, because one of our volunteers had a stroke after he left our home. And he said this is very common. People die while they're trying to recover and trying to get help. Our representative is, instead of helping Texans, instead of letting this, whatever the reason for this initial effort at untimely against the Texas Constitution redistricting. Whatever that original reason was, once there was a flood and Texans in need, y'all needed to let it drop. And yet my representative on the daily is posting videos about how Democrats are keeping them from helping the flood victims.
You believe that?
She won't even listen to us. She won't talk to us. We can't speak with her about this or the other issues that we've dealt with. And they're using it to try to cling to power. If you want to keep a job, do that job well.
Ma'am, let me ask you.
Sorry.
Let me ask you. You were probably happy when Senator King expressed to you that the Senate passed all those flood bills last Friday. You were happy to hear that, weren't you?
I'm happy to hear that. I probably think there should be more land use related policies.
But the point still remains. But the point still remains. Flood should have been this special session's priority, and not redistricting. Am I correct? Am I correct, ma'am?
The causes of increased flood risk, which to people like my community are, we live there to give access for our livestock to water, or because we cannot afford to live anywhere else. So we were not vacationing. The people that died in Sandy Creek were not vacationing. That is our homes. There is a certain amount of risk that we assume by living there, but that risk has exponentially increased because of the open land use policies that are also supported by.
I want to thank you for your testimony here today, ma'am. Thank you, and God bless you.
You too, sir. Thank you, all of you, for your service.
Please proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Good evening, good afternoon, whatever we're in right now. My name is Teresa Blanton. I am representing myself, and I am against the maps. Texas leadership seemingly can't wait to support an administration that sends military vehicles and personnel rolling through the streets of American citizens, sends armed and masked enforcers to kidnap people off the streets and imprison them without due process, builds internment camps around the country and delights private prison corporations with dreams of massive profits, extorts countries, universities, and companies. I'm sorry? Closer?
Thank you.
Extorts countries, university, and companies with financial threats. And that is just to name a few. We are inundated with the negative actions of this regime every week. All of this while the president heaps praise on a war criminal and makes life easier for a convicted pedophile. Is this what you're willing to silence Texas voters for? Congress could intervene in any of the things that have been done, but current Republicans won't use their own powers as a co-equal branch of government capable of acting like a check and balance, and you want to maintain that inaction. Both state and federal Republicans are evidently more than happy just to follow orders and seek to rule, not govern. And that's the answer, isn't it? As a retired teacher, I see your hypocrisy, because while you insist that Texas schools meet a standard or face consequences, you don't want to be held accountable by the people. You need to know that you are safe, and enough people will have that knee-jerk reaction when you say transgender or illegal and blindly vote for you. You insist that Democrats are cowards for leaving the state, but they did what we asked them to do and brought attention to this fight. What you're doing is pure cowardice. The other thing I want you to understand is that this may lead to voting chaos, not only in Texas, but across the country.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. Litzinger, please go forward with your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you all for your care for Texas, your service to Texas, and for this opportunity to speak. I'm Linda Litzinger, Advocacy Director at Texas Parent to Parent, a statewide nonprofit serving families with disability, also speaking for my own family. Just going to add a few things to what my daughter said. Our family works hard. We've had corporate insurance where we were engineers, and my husband was an Army colonel on the weekends. We thus had acute care paid 100% by insurers, and that's very important when you have a catastrophically expensive child. Many of our families have one insurance, but they still need the last 20%. But the long-term care is the gap. It is Texas has no obligation to pay long-term care to stay in the community. And yet we've got children that are used to the community, trained to be in the community and to work and to have full lives. And we are terribly worried and unable to work with Washington. We've found from experience that you have to go there and you have to have an introduction from the National Council on Disability or something to have a meeting with a legislator in Washington, especially your senators. And it is very difficult to even meet with staff people, even virtually. And so we feel that this is a problem to have 5 less Democrats in Congress when we have families in this position. We have friends who've had children in SSLCs, and that's really been pretty abusive and neglectful. And so we don't want our kids to be institutionalized. So please preserve the existing maps that provide better access to legislators and do not move this bill forward. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Rayburn.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tyler Rayburn. I'm a 6th-generation Texan and a student at the University of Houston. Just wanted to come today to respond to a few comments that were made at this meeting today. Senator King, you said at the beginning of this meeting that one of the large goals of this bill was to ensure that Republican power was strengthened in Congress. That right there should instantly invalidate the passing of this bill, because redistricting is meant to support the Texan interests of the citizens and not of the partisan goals of U.S. Congress. Additionally, you've also heard all but one person in this meeting. Over 2,000 people met on the South Steps yesterday, and many, many other people who've met in congressional meetings speak out against this bill because they pleaded with Republicans to say that this new map, this proposed map, doesn't fairly, accurately represent minority interests within this state. So I ask you, as the chair of this meeting, as the chair of this commission, and to the other Republicans in this commission, would you not agree that it is within your duty to ensure that this proposed map fairly and accurately represents all people of Texas? So I implore you to reconsider passing this bill and to remember that the people who put you in these seats and to not bow down to the demands of the man in the White House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any comments or questions? Senator Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I went to say hello to my fellow Cougar there. Do you vote in Houston? Are you in CD 18?
So I'll be moving there this Thursday, actually, and I'll be registering to vote within the Houston district then.
Okay. You realize that Congressional District 18 has been without a representative for quite some time?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were other members of Congress in other states that passed around the same time that the late Sylvester Turner passed, and those elections have already happened.
Yes, ma'am.
But this election won't happen until November. So the residents of the 18th Congressional District have gone without representation for quite some time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just making sure you were aware of that. Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to say something to the First Lady that spoke. I'm sorry, what was your name?
I don't care what you call me as long as you're kind. Stephanie Morris.
Stephanie?
Stephanie, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we've had a lot of testimony in these hearings. Actually, not as much as I think we should have had, but anyway, we've had testimony. And yours really sticks out because you captured what many of us have been asking, and that is about the priorities of Texas. And do you realize that this topic of redistricting has received much more attention in terms of hearings? And if you were just to look up anybody's social media, there is more about redistricting than about relief for those who lost family members or belongings or property in the floods.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think those are misplaced priorities?
I know that there are a lot of, as a nurse, a lot of sources of trauma, and that's sometimes what leads to long-term ripple effects from traumatic events. It's not just that event, it's how things are handled afterward that enables people to recover and return back to themselves, maybe slightly changed, but be productive members of society. productive citizens. But when you have a traumatic event and then it's silenced, or you're treated like you don't exist, you don't matter, and you're not receiving any help, or then we lose people for a lot of different reasons, long-term the effects. And what happened particularly in Sandy Creek, the same community that had that bus flip, and those of us who live there know why it flipped. It flipped because our roads, those of us who live in the ETJ communities, extraterritorial jurisdictions, that are living with the pressures of massive amounts of people and community land being changed, large numbers of people moving in, yet we're still living with those same torn up county roads that can't handle it. They're just, I don't know, I'm sorry. I'm not
I'm
answering
sorry
your
for
question.
all you've gone through, but wanted to bring this back to the topic of the day is that it is very frustrating. We know how this started. President Trump said that he wanted 5 GOP congressional seats out of Texas. Then it was followed up by a letter from the DOJ, Harmeet Dillon, and we have yet to be able to question Ms. Dillon. We've asked her to come to our hearing, and we didn't really get a response. Then President Trump said he was entitled to those seats. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how that phone call went between President Trump and the governor. I'm just, you know, trying to picture what that conversation was like, and maybe it went something like this. Governor, looking at Texas, I think you can squeeze out 5 Republican seats. And then I'm just trying to think what the governor said. But well, here's what I wish he would have said. Mr. President, with all due respect, I've got a catastrophe on my hands.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not going to work. And it would have nipped it in the bud right there. But here we are now, a month later, weeks later, whatever. And this is just spiraled out of control.
Yes.
And now other states are doing it. And now we're down this path of destruction. And somebody said, well, you know, other states have done this before. You've had Illinois or whoever. I don't remember who they pointed to. But the difference here is that it was that legislative body that chose to do that. It wasn't Barack Obama, who was concerned that he might lose votes or numbers in the House in the midterms. It wasn't Bill Clinton, who was afraid that he was going to lose in the midterms. And in fact, he did. It's when Newt Gingrich became Speaker of the House. And that's the way it goes. The pendulum swings back and forth. It's just the way politics goes. But this was an overreach. And it was an overreach into Texas during the worst catastrophe our state has ever seen. And here we are talking about mid-decade rigged districting. Thank you for sharing your story.
By a man who does not share our values.
Thank you very much to each of you for all of your testimony, and this panel is excused. Senator Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you all testifying very much. Just simply want to say to you, Mrs. Litzinger, and also to Mrs. Morris, appreciate your commentary specific to the flooding situation and to the long-term health insurance concerns. I know we'll be happy to visit with you about those items, and certainly happy to make certain that your representatives, Mrs. Morris, are aware of your concerns as well. So thank you both for being here and talking about flooding and talking about long-term health insurance, and look forward to visiting with you on those items. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you,
Parker. Any other comments? The chair will call Ashley Morgan. This would be the third attempt. If Ms. Morgan is still here, please come forward, Ms. Morgan. Please proceed.
My name is Ashley Morgan, and I'm here on behalf of myself. I've submitted some written comments with respect to the other hearings, and was one of the folks that waited for about 12 hours and didn't get reached the other day. So I'm here to speak from the heart and the mind and not from what I wrote. I want to let you know how important representation is to the people of Texas and how sorely we are lacking in that representation in Congress. Representative Hunter asked a question that I think may have been facetious at one of the hearings, which was in effect, so what? You still get a vote, even if we change the lines. So what? You may not like the person that represents you, but so what? The so what is that when you gut federal agencies like the Department of Education and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we rely on our representatives in Congress more than we ever have before. I am lucky to be in Lloyd Doggett's district, and by the grace of God, I will still be in his district. But I'm here as an Austinite and moreover as an American to oppose these drawings of lines that are based on racial discrimination and gut our ability to have representation. And I don't have enough time to fully elicit and give a description of what I have been through because of the gutting of the Department of Education, but I welcome any questions on that. As one of the 5 million student loan borrowers who relied on student loans to get an education, I have been unable to pay my loans. My loans in March went from $500 a month to over $2,400 a month, which is more than what I pay for my mortgage. I was facing a situation where I thought I might lose my house and have to move. I'm a lawyer, a first-generation lawyer, a triple Baylor Bear, Senator Hughes. And I was only able to get a law degree and be the first lawyer in my family because of student loans. And the whole basis for the passage of the bill that allowed for income-based repayment was to make it more affordable for middle-class and lower-income Americans to get an education and chase the American dream. I cannot tell you how many times I've said, with liberty and justice for all, but I've taken 2 oaths to the Constitution in the last 10 years, and that's why I'm here
Thank you
today.
for your
I oppose this
testimony
bill.
very much. Senator Miles.
Mr. Chairman, let me first apologize to you for, and thank you for having to wait 12 hours, and thank you for your tenacity in waiting and being here today. You wanted to speak on what happens to government agencies when there's no lack of representation. Could you speak on that for me?
Yes, sir. So in March, you may or may not be aware, I'm sure a lot of your staffers have student loans if you're not still paying yours. But the Department of Education froze the applications for income-based repayment and did not allow folks who were on income-based repayment plans to recertify. Every year I have to recertify my income so that they can set my monthly payments. Well, when they froze those forms and instructed loan service providers like mine, Nelnet, not to process those forms, whether paper or electronic, what that did was throw those of us who had to recertify to stay on our plan into the standard payment program. And I have tried so many times, I'm sure there are some embarrassing, desperate, crying voicemails that Senator Cruz and Cornyn have, but their staffers don't answer the phones and they don't respond. You know who did respond? Lloyd Doggett. And that's why I'm here today, because I care about what happens to District 35 and District 37.
So if I could ask you, are you in support of this bill or not?
Oh, no, sir, I'm sorry. I strongly oppose it.
Strongly oppose it.
Yes, sir.
Members, any other questions? Yes, Senator King.
Just one, thank you. And you didn't wait 12 hours in the Senate and get turned away from testifying, did you?
No, sir. Unfortunately, due to the short notice and my litigation schedule, I couldn't make it, so I submitted written testimony along with lots of
I just want to
exhibits.
clarify, when you say you waited 12 hours, that was not in the Senate.
No, sir. No, that was in the House.
Thank
you. Kind of knew she didn't wait 12 hours for us.
No, you were so fast today. I apologize. You had to call my name so many times. I thought I had at least 3 hours. So, like a lot of folks, I was getting ready for the week. But thank you for
Appreciate
allowing
your
me.
testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, public testimony is closed. Members, any other comments or questions prior to proceeding forward with a vote on Senate Bill 4?
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, I do have some questions. And I understand we were saving the questions to the end. Is that right?
This is the end.
I know it's the end, but
Senator Alvarado, you're recognized.
thank you for recognizing me. Well, the questions are for the author of the bill. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Alvarado, yes. You're
thank you.
recognized.
Chairman King, I wanted to ask a few questions on the origination of the map, because I'm still trying to figure out, I mean, I think I have an idea, but I wanted some clarity. Who actually drew this map?
So I adopted and filed the House map. The House map, as we've talked about it before, My understanding was that it was drawn by the National Redistricting Trust, which is a nationwide organization that works in redistricting in all 50 states.
Is that a partisan group?
I think yes, it's a Republican group, but it also, for example, I believe they worked with the Republican congressional delegation in providing a draft. Historically, when we're doing congressional redistricting, the congressional delegation, Republicans, will have a map drawn and they'll submit it to the legislature and say, hey, this is what we would like you to start with as a template, just like the House does in the House and the Senate does in the Senate. I think the Redistricting Trust did the work with the Republican delegation in 2021. It's my understanding that the map that was submitted to the House was also drawn with the assistance of the National Redistricting Trust.
Okay. And was Adam Kincaid involved in this? Was this another one of his art pieces?
So Adam Kincaid, I don't know
2021
all
map?
their staffing or how many staff members they have. Adam Kincaid is the head of the Redistricting Trust.
Okay. Redistricting Trust or Republican Trust?
You know, actually, I'm not quite sure actually what the name of it is. I think it may be the Republican. I think it's the National Redistricting Trust, or maybe
Mr. Chairman,
Republican Redistricting
if I
Trust.
could,
Okay.
Mr.
But
Chairman.
anyways, it's general. Let me finish, please. It is a generally Republican organization. It has been involved in redistricting across the country for a number of years. Adam Kincaid is its CEO or chair or president or whatever its office title is.
Okay, so and Adam Kincaid,
Senator Alvarado.
thank you. It's widely known that he drew the 2021 maps, and then very recently, like months ago, was in court defending those maps. Correct.
Yes, that's my understanding.
And then he had a change of heart and said, even though I testified in court, and defended the maps I drew, now I'm going to draw these other maps.
Well, you'd have to ask him that,
Okay.
but my understanding
I would have loved
was-
to, but he didn't answer to our invitation.
Let me answer, please.
Mm-hmm.
I would. You'd have to ask him that, and I know you wanted to subpoena him, and the committee chose not to do that. But my understanding is that he was requested to draw a map that increased Republican representation in the state of Texas, and that's what this map does.
And that request came from who?
I do not know. I'm
Okay.
assuming it. You've seen the same media coverage that I have, but I have not spoken with anyone at the White House. I have not spoken with anyone at the Justice Department. So I don't want to speak incorrectly about that.
Can you?
Senator Alvarado.
Thank you. Can you tell me about the chain of custody of this maps, where it started, then whose hands it was in next, and then how it finally got to you?
Can't tell you. I was never handed a map, never given a copy of anything. I was looking for a map that met the objectives that I've previously referenced. The House filed their map. The original intention was to wait for the House map to come over to the Senate, and we would take it up at that time. When the Democrats left the state of Texas and the redistricting was stalled, I went ahead and, having looked at the map, thought it was a good map, thought it accomplished those objectives, then I filed it as then Senate Bill 4 in the first called special session. And so I received it from the House in that respect.
So in that process,
Senator Alvarado.
okay, all right. So in that whole process, did you ever have a chance to work with Red Apple or click the mouse or have any input in that map before it was released to the public?
I did not. I listened to the testimony in the House. I studied the map myself. I had asked the law firm that we had employed to do a legal scrub of it to make sure that it was lawful in all respects. But I have not gotten on Red Apple or any of the other programs that are out there.
Because I'm trying to remember, like Senator Hinojosa, I've been on redistricting in the House and here, and usually the chair has been working with a team of people and Red Apple, and they're involved in it. But in this case, you're saying that you are not, or your team, your staff, no one from your office or the committee staff was involved in the actual drawing of the map?
Well, I can say I carried the redistricting map for congressional redistricting in 2003. I never touched Red Apple then. I worked with others who were, as we discussed, and what if we do this to this district and that to that district. I did the same thing when I later chaired redistricting in the House. And but on this map, I have been pleased with what I've learned about the map. I think it's a good map, and I adopted it as my map and filed it as a bill for consideration of the committee.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Alvarado, and thank you, Senator King. Members, any other comments before we? Yes, Senator Miles with a question.
I don't know, it's a question or a statement. For the record, for clarity, the name of the organization is the National Republican Redistricting Committee.
Thank you. That sounds right. You're
that
correct.
Adam Kincaid works for. It is the National Republican Redistricting Committee that Adam Kincaid works for. Mr. Chairman, I just got a couple of questions, real simple. How many testimonies did we get today?
What's the
Clerk have record?
43.
43? Mr. Chairman, out of the 43, did you by chance keep record of how many were in favor of this bill?
There were a total of 77 registrations overall.
I mean, out of testimony, there were 43, is that correct?
That's correct.
43 here today?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Senator King, do you know how many were in favor of this bill today that testified?
I think one.
That's correct.
Registered in favor.
That's correct. Out of the testimony we had today, members, 43 testimonies, one who was running for office, well, I'll not say the name, was in favor of this bill. One Texan out of 43. Just want to make sure every day that we end this committee, that we keep count on how many are in favor of this bill. Mr. Chairman, by chance, two quick questions relating to the 2021 map. Were you present when the Senate did the 2021 map?
I was in the House at the time.
You were in the House at the time. Mr. Chairman, there were some majority-minority districts in the 2021 map. Do you recall?
I recall. I'm very familiar with the map that we're currently under, which is the map that was passed.
Okay, then can I rephrase the question this way? Mr. Chairman, do you know what a majority-minority district is?
Yes, I know what the
Could you give me a definition in your words?
I don't want to get into a deposition status.
No, a definition.
I said that. I don't want to get into a deposition status. I understand basic redistricting law as you do. I understand what a majority district is. I understand what a crossover district is. I understand what a coalition district is. But I would prefer not to be answering questions for specific definitions. As you know, many of those definitions are very long and elaborate as established by case law.
Mr. Chairman, you know I'm not a lawyer, right? So I don't necessarily know the definition as you would know, because you are a lawyer, correct?
I am.
Okay, I'm not a lawyer. So I just simply want to know, what do you think a minority district is? I'm not trying to depose you in any kind of way, Mr. Chairman.
We've had a number of people testify on what minority districts are during the first special session, and I am not going to get into the legal definitions because I did not take race into consideration when drawing this map. I drew it based on what would better perform for Republican candidates. I did that because I believe that the policies that a Republican Congress supports and passes are the best policies for the state of Texas, and I'm happy to go into a long laundry list of those if you'd like me to. But and I think just the first 8 months of this year are self-evident as to the benefits of having a Republican president, Senate, and Congress, and that is why I drew this map. I do not know if it will elect.
That you drew this map. You're stating that you drew the map now?
We'll need to
I meant
allow
to,
Senator King
and,
to
and my
complete his-
apologies. I meant filed this map. My apologies. I did not draw the map. I filed the map. But the my intent was to help elect more Republicans to the Congress, to the U.S. Congress, because I believe that the policies that they will promote will be in the best interest of the state of Texas. And I believe that with all my heart. I have no idea whether it will elect Hispanics or African Americans or whites or Asians. But I do believe that that there will be 5 districts that will be more leaning Republican than we currently have today.
And my last question.
Miles.
My last question, Mr. Chairman. Chairman King, you're going to stand by your statement that race was not a factor for you in the map that you filed, that you did not draw, that you filed, that was drawn, as you immediately said, by the National Republican Redistricting Committee. You're going to stand by that?
Yes, and the reason I do, because I know that, and I guess maybe you think there are not, but I think there are large numbers of Hispanic and Black Republicans. I think there's large numbers of Asian Republicans. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I believe in the policies. Now, there's been a lot of media estimates. You've probably read articles too suggesting that the map may elect more Hispanics or Republicans. I don't know. All I care about is I believe that there will be more Republican-leaning districts after this map becomes the Texas map.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Miles. Members, appreciate your commentary and questions. At this time, we'll call for a vote on Senate Bill 4. Senator Parker moves that Senate Bill 4 be reported favorably to the full Senate with a recommendation that it do pass and be ordered, not printed. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Alvarado?
No.
Senator Hinojosa?
No.
Senator Hughes?
Yes.
Senator Miles?
No.
Senator Parker?
Aye.
Senator Paxton? Aye. Senator Sparks?
Aye.
Senator Creighton?
Aye.
Senator King?
Aye.
That is 6-3.
There being 6 ayes and 3 nays, Senate Bill 4 will be reported to the full Senate with a favorable recommendation. Chairman King, I'll pass the gavel back to you at this time.
Okay, thank you, Senator Creighton, for leading today. We do have a hearing posted for tomorrow. I'm going to cancel that hearing at this time. We posted it simply as a precaution in case we had more witnesses today than would allow us to complete all the business before the committee. But we have completed all the business that we need to take care of before the committee, I believe. And with that, I will say, members, is there any other business to come before the committee? Seeing none, Senator Creighton moves that the committee stand in recess, subject to the call of the chair. Thank you, everyone who testified today. Thank you, members, for being here today.